Hey, it's me, JD. Welcome back to Nomifactory, where we've embarked on an exciting blind playthrough that's currently on episode 4. You may be wondering why it hasn't felt very blind so far, and the reason is that I've had to restart this portion of the game numerous times. But today we're turning a new leaf, and by the next episode, we'll be truly playing off the cuff again. Today we're continuing our deep dive into Genesis questlines, and we're getting closer to wrapping it up. But before we do, we're going to create some special items that will take our gameplay to the next level of comfiness, as well as some new tech to open up new industries. So stick around until the end to see it all in action. Today we're going to be starting off with some basic materials, a bit of copper, redstone dust, and iron dust. We're going to use these to make two different types of new dust that are red alloy and conductive iron. The copper will be mixed with the redstone dust in a 4:1 ratio to make red alloy dust. And then the iron dust in a 1:1 ratio, also with redstone, to make conductive iron dust. We'll pop them into a furnace and create 64 red alloy and conductive iron ingots. With our new ingots in hand, we'll transform them into plates using a crafting station and a hammer. We'll start with the red alloy plates, followed by the conductive iron plates. Unfortunately, plates are quite expensive at this moment, but we'll press on and correct that as we go. But wait, what's this? A wild atmospheric river has appeared, bringing with it the sound of rain? Yeah, it's going to rain, and I really don't want to listen to it. So we're going to create a new item to improve our quality of life, the Super Sound Muffler. To make this, we'll need a jukebox, some wool, and some plant fibers to make string. We'll use the string to make the wool, and then use the wool and the jukebox to make the muffler. We can even make a wearable version by adding 3 more string to the muffler. We can equip it on our bobble slots and set which sounds we want to muffle. So, goodbye rain, cows, chickens, and pistons, because we've got a project coming up with pistons soon. Okay, back to our plates. We'll now use wire cutters and our plates to make wires. We'll start with the red alloy wires and then move to the conductive iron wires. We'll need 16 conductive iron wires and 3 red alloy wires for this, and that should complete the next quest. From dust to wires. Now we're going to do a little information quest for mining hammers. We know all about these, especially after the 1.50 patch and nerf that came along and wrecked us. Although I don't think we've seen the last of that wreckage. I swear, man, someone's out to get me on this. Our next step is to make some resin. We'll use plant balls made from leaves or saplings to make slime balls. Which can then be cooked to create resin. While we're waiting for that, we'll make a soft mallet, a simple recipe using planks and sticks, which is used for enabling and disabling GregTech machines. With our resin in hand, let's make rubber sheets. Okay, make rubber sheets. Why you no work, bro? Ah, here. The lovely 1.50 patch rears its ugly head again, as this recipe is broken. I had to go and modify my script file in the Nomifactory directory to correct this myself, and I posted the solution on GitHub, which I'll link down below in the comments, so check it out. Our next quest is to upgrade our reach by 50, and we're going to be using an effortless building upgrade to do that. The footage was kind of jank here, so I just kept a screenshot up for you guys to see the recipe, and all you do is consume that item, and it gives you the upgrade. We're also going to be making an iron grappling hook using 6 iron ingots to create little chain links. Put those 3 together to make an actual chain link. And then if we make an iron pickaxe and grab 4 ingots, put it all together, we'll get our iron grappling hook. Next, we'll complete ore doubling, which is another information quest that explains that we'll be able to double ores down the road, but we can't yet, so don't worry about it too much. Wrenches are next on the menu, starting with the crescent hammer. A simple iron and tin combination will satisfy this recipe. Meanwhile, after that, we're going to have to craft some iron rods and plates, using 4 of each to make an iron gear. With our trusty GregTech wrench, we'll bring that gear to life and combine it with 3 iron ingots to create a fancy Yetta wrench from Ender.io. This is going to come in handy along with the crescent hammer for some of the stuff we're going to be doing soon. Alright, now we need to go ahead and make some buckets using the new recipe. This requires 3 plates and a hammer. There we go, 2 new buckets. But before we move on, we need to fill these up with water real quick. So let's head to the overworld dimension, get some water from our tank that's right next to our base, and then we'll head back. Alright, bucket's full. It's time to get down to business. We need to cull our cow field right quick because we need some leather. We have an upcoming project that calls for 12 leather. But before we do that, we're going to separate our calves from their parents. Where's the beef, baby? It's time for them to make a special trip downtown to JD's slaughter mound. Don't worry though, we're going to do good things with that meat and leather. Now we've gathered a lot of sand and gravel, as well as some clay. These will be used for multiple things, like double compressed sand, which we compress it once, and then we compress it again. And now, with this, we'll be able to make something called Snad. Yeah, it's not a typo. Which can take a redstone signal and make things like cactuses and sugarcane grow at an increased rate. We'll also be making glass from some of it, of course. Speaking of sugarcane, we'll be using it as one of our primary fuel sources here in a little while, when we can get some automation set up. It's very easy to automate even in vanilla Minecraft, so we'll go ahead and get some sugarcane growing now on top of this Snad. Now, let's talk about fluid transport. This quest calls for both fluid conduits and steel fluid pipes. For the conduits, we'll need some binder, and all we need is a bit of that sand, clay, and gravel we were talking about just a moment ago to create the binder. The steel pipes we'll need, well, steel. Plates. We'll make them with the help of our trusty GregTech tools. But wait, there's a catch. If you're doing this quest in the order that I've shown here, you're going to get credit for completing it even though you haven't done the fluid conduit transport portion yet. So don't worry, it's just an oversight on their part. You can move along. Before we move on, let's go ahead and make that infinite water block that we made the buckets for earlier. All we need now are some wrought iron plates, the 2 buckets of water, and just like that, we've got ourselves an infinite water block. Let's set it up next to our sugarcane farm, and we'll put it to good use later. Alright, let's talk about that leather that we got from our cow field. We're going to be making ourselves a hang glider. All we need is 12 of the leather that we got, 6 sticks, and 6 iron rods. The leather is going to be used to make each of the wings that you see here for our fancy new glider. The rods will be used for some scaffolding. And just like that, we've got ourselves a hang glider. This is going to be a huge help for traveling and exploring, especially when we're looking for new biomes, like say a desert or a swamp. Alright, it's time to step up our automation game potential. Buckle up because we're about to knock out some Greg Tech item transport pipes. These bad boys are cheap and easy to use, and will be the first step in automating our furnaces and potentially even our dynamos and generators. But don't worry, we'll talk more about setting those up in a future episode. For now, we just need some cobalt plates. Alright, it's time to put all that resin and rubber that we've been collecting to good use. I've got 11 rubber sheets in my inventory, so let's start wrapping some wires in rubber and making cables. Before we do that, I do need to make a few more red alloy plates because I know we're going to need them. And while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and make more resin by cooking down some more plant balls. So now it's time to make those red alloy cables. I need a ton of these babies for all the projects I have planned, but let's start with a few for now. And with that, we've completed our next quest. We're going to keep making more and more of the red alloy because I know we're going to need it. We're also going to need some bare red alloy wires to make conduit. And as you can see, that gives us redstone conduit. This stuff is also super useful for a lot of reasons, but I especially love playing with redstone and using it for automation. So we're going to make even more of it. We'll start with 8, which will help us get our first automated farm going. But don't expect to see it in this episode. I'll debut that in the next one. So make sure you stop by to check it out. Alright, I think we're ready to harness the power of steam. So let's take our first look at dynamos, bros. First things first, we're going to make some conductive iron energy conduit to transfer energy between our producers. We'll make that with a little conductive iron wire and some of our conduit binder as we've made in the past. To make use of these, we need an energy producer, and that's where the steam dynamo is going to come in. Now I know you're all smart cookies and can read recipes, so I'll just power play through the subcomponent crafting process. We'll need 2 wrought iron gears, 1 excitation coil, an iron furnace, and 2 copper plates to make our first steam dynamo. But let's not stop there. We're going to make 3 to start. It's not going to be too difficult, and it's going to be worth it. We'll start off with copper plates. 6 of those. Now let's make some iron furnaces. Wait a minute. I don't think I have any furnaces on hand. Oh, never mind. I do have one. All right, we'll go ahead and make 2 more. Now we have 3 furnaces. Let's craft those into iron furnaces real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and start making the coils. We'll be using silver and golden rods for those along with some redstone. Next will be the excitation coils, and then the gears. These gears are just so much dang fun because we need yet more wrought iron plates and rods. We had just enough. Perfect. Alright, so we've got 3 steam dynamos. We can now take the fluid conduit, the steam dynamo, the infinite water block, and the conductive iron power conduit, and combine them together into a power creation loop, so long as we can provide fuel to the dynamos. We'll just rotate these guys around using a wrench, and now they're filling up with water from the water block, as you can see. And then if we get up here and connect the excitation coil to some power conduits and give them a little fuel, which we're going to use our lovely sugarcane for, you'll see that that's burning up, and that's producing RF, and we are now producing power. With all that done, it's finally time to take our manufacturing game up a notch. Our final project of the day is going to be getting a blast furnace, but we're also going to take a moment and make some fuel catalyzers to put them into play. To start, I'm going to create the fuel catalyzers for our steam dynamos, just to let them burn fuel more efficiently. We're going to make 2 for each of those, and it's going to be primarily wrought iron that we're going to need for plates and ingots. We'll combine these plates with the redstone coil that you see in the center, which is golden rods and redstone. We'll put 2 of these in each dynamo, and we'll be on our final step so that we can start manufacturing steel. This means we won't have to go on Lost City adventures anymore. Not that I won't go on more adventures, but I don't want to be forced, you know? Our blast furnace requires 2 things: fire bricks and a primitive blast furnace, which is the control block that's going to go in the center of the second level, which we will interact with to create our steel. To make these blast bricks as well as the primitive blast furnace, we're going to need 2 things: clay and brick dust. We're going to get these 2 and mix them together to make the fire bricks. So previously I've picked up some bricks, and I've got plenty of clay on hand, as you saw earlier. We're going to turn these pieces of clay into blocks, and then use our mortar and pestle to break them down into dust. There's our 16 brick dust, and there's our 16 clay dust. If we mix those 2 together, we're going to get a whole bunch of fire clay dust. We then throw that into the furnace over here and heat it up. This obsidian furnace is very nice. I think I might make another one of these very soon. Alright, now that we've got some bricks on hand, we can put them together to form a block. Then for the actual blast furnace block that acts as the operating controller, we're going to need some screws, some rods, a plate, and our GregTech tools, as usual. There we go. 1 primitive blast furnace. So we're going to place this down right here for now. While it's not going to be its permanent home, we'll get the first usage of this blast furnace off and running because it's fancy and I want some steel. This is a 3x3x4, but outside of the first layer, the middle brick on each layer is hollow. So the bottom will take 9 blocks, then each of the other 3 will take 8. The second layer will have 1 block different than the rest because we're going to put the blast furnace control block in the center. That's it. We're done. It's accessible now and ready to go. So if we got some wrought iron, and either some coal or charcoal, and then throw this in here, and it's off and running. And we're manufacturing steel finally. Awesome. So today we've made great progress and accomplished a lot of what we set out to do, but our journey is far from over. In the next episode, we're going to be continuing our quest for our first major goal, a fully automated farm for infinite fuel. And who knows, we might even start tapping into that power loop we created with those dynamic dynamos. The possibilities are endless. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, I'd be thrilled if you hit that like button. Don't be shy. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button too if you want to keep up with what's going on around here, or hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when the next episode arrives. Other than that, have a great week, everyone. Laters.